Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the committee. Again, Kyle Davis with the Nevada Conservation League. We are in support of this legislation. I think my colleague, Mr. Drew, has outlined a lot of the significant environmental impacts that come from the overpopulation of wild horses in our state. The fact of the matter is, Nevada is the driest state in the nation, and we have very scarce and precious resources in our state. And despite that, we maintain a very healthy ecological balance. We're actually, we're either the fourth or fifth most biologically diverse state in the nation, and have a number of different wildlife species in our state. But in order to maintain that balance and maintain that diversity and make sure that all of our wildlife species are able to thrive and grow and live healthy lives, we need to make sure that we are managing our wildlife resources. And our State Department of Wildlife does a good job of that, and they have jurisdiction over almost all of the animals in our state, but they do not have jurisdiction over wild horses and burros, and that's why we think this is an appropriate law for the legislation to consider, because this will clarify that that wild horses and burros are not wildlife under the state, as the state considers wildlife. They are under the jurisdiction of the federal government. And I think that's important to remember, that they are under the jurisdiction of the federal government, and that means that they are a protected species by federal law. A lot of what you may be hearing about what this law may or may not do, the fact of the matter is, these are federally protected species, and we can't be doing things in the state that is going to conflict with federal law. So nothing, and I've read this bill many times. I've discussed this with the state engineer. I've discussed this with many other people that are, knowledgeable about the water law, about the wildlife law in our state. And nothing in this bill is going to prevent wild horses from being able to access the water that they currently access. And there's no way for people in the state of Nevada or for the state of Nevada to prevent that from happening. It will be against federal law. So basically what this bill does is it clarifies the difference between wildlife that the state has the jurisdiction over and wild horses and burros that are under federal jurisdiction. And it gives the state of Nevada the ability to manage our wildlife populations and manage it for the health of all of our populations, for the health of the habitat in our state, and for the riparian areas and the other areas that have been mentioned before. And for that reason, we are in support of the bill. I do think it's a good step forward for the state of Nevada.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Questions from the committee from Mr. Davis? Okay, I got one question and one observation. You talked about how diverse we are. I've found that my backyard has been, especially the swimming pool, has been taken over by a gaggle of mallard ducks. Is that the correct collective pronoun? I don't know. Yeah, I guess while I'm not there, they feel they're safe. But question, Mr. Drew commented that wild horses are not native species, and I know that I don't want to create a barroom brawl here, but in your research or your studies, do you have any thoughts on whether they are native or because apparently they've been around for centuries, so any thoughts on that?
Mr. Chairman, through you to Senator Parks, my understanding is that no, they are not a native species. But that being said, I mean, I'm certainly, I'm a lobbyist and not a scientist, so I would probably leave any further discussion to my colleague, Mr. Drew, who does have these types of biology degrees, and he could probably go into this a little more.
For the record, Jeremy Drew. It's our understanding through the science that's available that the horses that were here originally went extinct, and the animals that are here now are descendants from horses that were brought over when the New World was rediscovered by the Spanish and so forth. Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions? I guess not. Okay. Good afternoon. Welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Tina Nappy, and I testified before you last week as the conservationist on the State Board of Wildlife Commissioners umpteen billion years ago. And my background is basically conservation of Nevada's endemic species initially, and range and water issues. And I'm here today to support AB 329, however, with some caveats on this. it's very difficult to add wildlife, wild horses and burros into wildlife when virtually under the conditions under which wild horses and burros exist today, which is that they are not managed, they are allowed to explode in populations. It is very detrimental to many of our water sources and also to horses. And it's been demonstrated to show that it impacts riparian areas. But more importantly, at this point under the law, it's really important to recognize that Department of Wildlife does not manage wild horses and burros. Therefore, they are not really considered wildlife. However, I believe that horses and burros, it's not enough for the Bureau of Land Management to have a reserve doctrine for horses. I do believe that horses should and burros should be considered a beneficial use of wildlife, and therefore be documented as such and be able to apply independently for water sources because they are using them and will need them. And that documentation, that application process will provide an opportunity for protesting or for asking for mitigation. And such mitigation might include the fencing of some riparian areas that are being damaged by horses and requiring that the water be piped out into another area. And that would be really important to protect water sources and also some of the big game that now cannot access it. There is one rancher in northern Nevada who saw a deer actually killed by one of the stallions. It's a stallion that's 1,000 pounds is far stronger than any bighorn sheep, antelope, or deer that at the most is 200 pounds, more likely 125. So there really are some major conflicts there. There's a lot more interest too in the life that exists within the springs and as well as the fisheries. For years, conservationists worked with or against the amount of livestock raising in Nevada because of its impact on water and riparian areas. And now that we are managing to get livestock managed, we're now seeing horses exploding populations who are having the same impact and destructive impact on our rangelands. But for purposes here, I think BLM deserves to, it wants to apply for water rights under state water law. And it should have the right to do that, and that should be done by allowing horses and burros to apply for water rights as a beneficial use of water within the HMAs. I didn't get her name, Mr. Chair. Tina Nappy.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize, but I must have just missed that box. Again, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to start by clarifying a few things that have been printed, and I am sure the committee members themselves have been hearing in emails and phone calls. As witnessed by the diverse group represented by the previous speakers, it should be apparent this is not an issue of cows versus wild horses. Our association has never been opposed to healthy herds of managed wild horses. I'd like to state the Nevada Cattlemen's Association official policy on wild horses. Therefore, be it resolved, the Nevada Cattlemen's Association continue to be in support of sustainable, healthy, well-managed herds of wild horses and burros on healthy Nevada rangelands. Again, continue to be in support of sustainable, healthy herds. This has been our policy for years and continues to be so. As a doctor of veterinary medicine, I honor my oath to benefit society through the protection of animal health and welfare. Mr. Chairman, and members of the committee, I assure you this bill does not pose a threat to the health and well-being of wild horses in Nevada today. This bill is strictly about water rights and a continued threat to undermine and devalue Nevada water law. The BLM has been applying for and being granted water rights for wildlife and wild horses. It is because of this that the words wild horse and burro even appear in this bill. Again, I reiterate, it is the intent of this bill to preserve the value of existing water rights in the state of Nevada. As you heard from Mr. Busselman, the argument that this bill will result in taking water from horses that they are using in need, frankly, doesn't pack water. No pun intended. This bill does nothing to affect where the horses watered yesterday, are currently watering today, and where they will water tomorrow. They are a federally protected animal according to the Wild Horse and Burro Act. Any attempt to limit their access to historic water sources is prohibited, as it falls under the definition of harassment of a wild horse. You may question why the need for this bill then. As I stated above, it is about water rights and water law, not about water access. The state of Nevada must protect its water from acquisition by the federal government. The federal government already owns 87% of the land in Nevada. We do not need them to own 87% of the water. Current water rights held by the government will be honored and left in place. Individual water rights will not be affected by this legislation. It will solely prevent the further degradation of Nevada water law. I encourage this committee to focus on the bill and not the rhetoric. The people of the state of Nevada deserve to have their water rights protected. Thank you in advance for your support of this bill, and thank you for your time. I would answer any questions.
Okay, why don't we hear the panel first, and Joe, you next, and thank you for doing the right thing.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Joe Guild. I'm here in support of AB 329. A little background, if you don't mind, so I can give you some context to the committee and perhaps the audience about some expertise I might have in this area. I'm a past president of the Nevada Cattlemen's Association. I've been a practicing lawyer in Nevada and California for the last 30 years, concentrating in natural resource law and water law. I'm currently part of a management team of a large public lands ranch in eastern Nevada, which has wild horses and a lot of other wildlife, for that matter, that run on the federal ranges that we use under permits. And finally, I'm the current chairman for the National Cattlemen's Beef Association Federal Lands Committee. We represent over 25,000 federal lands ranchers in the United States on that committee. Mr. Goicoechea stated that Nevada Cattlemen's policy on wild horses. Let me paraphrase the National Cattlemen's Beef Association policy on wild horses, so that there's no misunderstanding, as Dr. Goicoechea said, that our presentation here in support of AB 329 could be mischaracterized in any way, that this might be an anti-wild horse measure. NCBA's policy, we support management at levels based upon the range's capability of accommodating horses and burros for the health of both the animals and the range. This is a pro-Nevada water law bill. It is not an anti-wild horse bill. As has been stated here prior to my testimony, which I won't repeat except in a couple of pertinent places to emphasize some points, the federal government has the authority and the duty under the law to take care of the wild horses. Nevada has primacy over its water, and the citizens of Nevada own that water and have the right to use that water after the state engineer has issued a permit or recognized vested rights or whatever, but it is only a use right, not an ownership right, but courts throughout the nation have recognized use rights as property rights. The state of Nevada manages the wildlife in Nevada, not the federal government. This is about keeping the federal government from owning a water right in Nevada, and by implication, creating a beneficial use in Nevada for wild horses. I'll close with this statement, and you've heard it before. you and members of the committee, Mr. Chairman. Passage of AB 329 will not take any water away from any agency or animal, including wild horses. This is to prevent further degradation of Nevada water law and protect the existing water rights and resources in Nevada. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Gall?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I am the chairman of the Elko County Commission. And my name is Steve Mardall. I've already messed up once here. I thought that I signed in. fact, I was sure I did, and it's not. I knew I did. But it's not what you know that hurts you. It's what you know that just ain't so. So
Right.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
You signed in, but you just didn't check that you wanted to speak, and part of my responsibility as chair is time management, and that's why I have to be a stickler on these things, because I'm trying to anticipate how much time we need for this bill, so go ahead. please
To
proceed.
help on your time management, I'm not going to read my prepared statement, and I'm just going to make a short statement. There's a lot of misunderstanding, and I know this has been said, and I'm repeating it on this bill. This is not a bill that's going to deprive a horse from a drink of water at all. The position that the Elko County Commission has is that we are concerned about our resource. We're concerned about the natural resource that's in Elko County and the range condition, about the wildlife, about the right to and ability to be able to run cattle on the range and to have a good resource there to do that on. And that's why we have passed a number of resolutions on the wild horse and on wild horse management, or the lack of wild horse management. But primarily, we are concerned about the water rights, and you've just heard some excellent testimony on the importance of water rights of the state being able to control the water rights in the state of Nevada. And we have already been able to establish that the Bureau of Land Management cannot use livestock that belong to someone else in order to perfect a water right, in order to show beneficial use on a water right. We think that they should not be able to use the wild horse to show beneficial use for a water right. And we see this as an erosion to a long history that we have in Nevada that has been very successful and very good for Nevada. And whether you're from Las Vegas or Reno or Elko County, this bill, I think, helps you as a citizen of the state of Nevada in preserving Nevada water law. Thank you very much.